There we go. And that is us live, I think. Thank you, everyone, for watching. First of all, this is the MMA UK Late Show coming at you every Sunday. My name is Lewis Smith, and tonight we're going to be talking about some of the younger prospects coming through on the MMA scene across the UK. We're all very excited. This is one of the things that we love to do. You talk about young fighters, and then, we mention these guys, and a couple of years later, sometimes we get Jack Shaws, Stevie Rays, Paddy Pimblett. So we love to talk about younger fighters on here. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Joining me tonight, I've got some great guests and very knowledgeable people as well. First of all, high-level coach, MMA legend, James Doolan. James, how are you getting on, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having us on.
No worries. How's the lockdown treating you, James?
I need a haircut really bad. My hair's fucking all over the place. I'm scared. I'm scared to shave it off in case it doesn't grow back.
Well, I've been the same. I'm looking like a bit of a Lego man at the minute. So
still looks better than mine.
How's it been with no training, James? How have you been feeling, buddy?
It's been tough. I've been taking over training myself, and then I've been programming a lot of stuff for the guys to train on their own, like sending them kind of workouts and stuff. And we've got a couple really good strength conditioning guys who are sending them all our fighters stuff and all our student stuff, just try to keep them involved. But it's been such a weird time. Like I've been involved in martial arts for about 30 odd years, and it's the biggest gap I've had. Away from the gym, away from my students and stuff like that. It's been really weird.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking the time to come on with us, buddy. We do appreciate it, and we look forward to your insights. So thanks for that, Kate.
No worries.
Katie Hunter, in control of the technology side of this podcast this evening. First time. How have you been, Katie? You all right?
I'm really good. I am really nervous about driving tonight, so I apologise if it's not as slick and as smooth as when Frankie's in control. But I'm going to do my best for you guys because I think this is an awesome topic. Glenn's idea to do a show on this, and I will say I'm not as eloquent as the other three. So please still go and check out my prospects, even if I don't do a good job of talking about them, of selling them as fighters. Please go and check them out because they're amazing, and you won't be disappointed.
Excellent. And last but certainly not least is Glenn the Sledge.
What's
Glenn,
going down?
How are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm good, Lou. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How did you come up with this idea then, Glenn, that we're going to talk about these young fighters on a podcast? Let's have to hear it.
So you know the drill. Like, I mean, I've only started doing this so I can help the grassroots of MMA. I mean, everyone knows how hard it is to get your name out there. Like, especially like, so with me, I come through the rugby scene, so I made loads of friends. So when I'm going to go and fight, I sell loads of tickets to my rugby friends. There's people now who do an MMA from like 14. They haven't got time to make as many friends through sport or rugby. So, you know, their only friends are people in the gym. So all the help we can give them, is they're going to need this sort of thing. So if we can talk about them and get their name out there, and if we pick up 5 or 10 more people on the fan pages or whatever, that's my job done, I think.
Yeah, great idea, Glenn, and look forward to hearing your picks for this evening.
Anyway,
one thing I gotta say, Glenn, one thing I gotta say just before I let you get on with the Lego Egg comment is that we've got
you knew it.
We've got a sponsor tonight, as you might see up in the top right-hand corner, Fight Fuel. These guys are a supplement and clothing company. The aim of the company is to supply supplements and clothing for the highest standard, so people can train and win. So yeah, go check those guys out. Get your clothes, get your supplements. And big shout out to Fightfield. So thank you for that, guys. But Glenn, go on, take it away. Get it out of the way before we start.
No, if it was so obvious, I'm not even gonna say that you look like I get your flag ruined. Everything is awesome.
Yeah, there we are.
Leave it.
Let's start this off then. James Doolan, what amateur guys have you got up in Scotland for us to talk about tonight? Who should be people looking out for up there?
I've to narrow it down to 2, right? So just 2.
Yeah, if you want to focus on 2 and give a couple of mentions as well, it's completely up to you, buddy.
Cool. Right. So there's quite a strong amateur scene up here just now. The same as everywhere else. The standard of the amateurs now is probably comparable with the pro level guys from about 5 to 10 years ago. And some of the kids coming through are absolutely frightening. The 2 that stand out for me it's kind of biased because they're in my gym. But the first one's a kid called Mark Ewan. He's 70 kilos. He's a lightweight at 70 kilos. I think he's had about 13, 14 fights now. He's a made for the cage British champion. He's won his last 9 fights. I think he's on a 9-fight winning streak. I think Tapology has him. They had him at number 2 at his weight. It's maybe 3 or 4 now. I'm not too sure how their rankings work, but I'd put him with any of the guys above him in the rankings now. So he's the main guy. He's just freak athlete, super dedicated kid, really smart kid. He's had boxing fights. He's been taking submission grappling matches. He's a Thai fights in Thailand. And the reason I picked him is not just because you want to see him doing these fights. It's for the last couple of camps I've had for Stevie Ray, especially the Michael Johnson one. Mark was his main training partner. And he did a athletic, fast southpaw. And we'd done Stevie does all his camps at home now. So we had Mark and we brought in an excellent professional boxer, Kieran Smith. But 90% of Stevie's work for Michael Johnson was Mark Ewan, this kid. And then we go over there and Michael Johnson turns up with Gilbert Burns and he's got Chandler in his corner, Henry Hooft and shit. So we used an amateur kid basically as your chief sparring partner. And obviously Stevie went and won the fight, so it paid off. But everybody in Scotland's aware of how good this kid is. I think he's fought in the last couple on talk shows and stuff like that. He was looking at maybe getting a run at the IMAF stuff this year before obviously the COVID thing shut it down. And then potentially he's keen to turn pro as quick as possible. So he's my first guy. It's Mark Ewan. My second guy, it was quite another easy pick actually. It was a kid we've got up here called Sean Clancy. He's just turned 17 years old. He's 3-0, 3 stoppages. Everybody's fought's older than him. We've had to bring in guys. He's fought an Icelandic guy and stuff like that because matching him when he was 16 was a problem. He's 70 kilos, 75 kilos now. But he's in the gym. I actually used to train his dad. His dad had some fights, which is how old I am. And then his kid's been in the gym since he was about 13. And again, he fits in with our pro fighters, so he's sparring with the guys that are in the UFC and Bellator already. He's 17. He's going to be bigger than them. I think he's about 6'4" already or something, and just filling out. So he's probably going to end up a light heavyweight, I think.
Does he have a brother that's training as well, James?
There's going to be a lot of them. There's 5 of them. There's 5 brothers. Sean's
Wow.
the oldest.
Sibling rivalry at its finest.
Yeah. His brother Logan's also training his younger brother Stephen. So the 3 of them are in the gym, and it looks like Stephen. Like every kind of generation or every gap you go down, the kids are getting better. So Stephen's like 13, I think. It looks frightening, and then he's got 2 wee twin brothers.
I'm gonna guess if they got a sister, she's gonna be single forever.
I think
Because nobody's gonna want to fuck with her. Let me tell you.
No, it's like they've got a baby sister actually. Which is...
yeah, you don't ask much then.
Yeah, but this kid travels. We're in Bathgate, West Lothian. This kid stays in Paisley, so it's he comes in his school blazer and stuff like that, and it's almost a 50-mile drive to the gym and then 50 miles back. So he's leaving the house in the morning, going to school, turning up at training, and then somebody comes to pick him up in the evening. So the kind of level of dedication that the kid's got is frightening for 14, 15, 16, and he's just turned 17.
Yeah. I know, James, I know you said like there's a big appetite for it up in Scotland and a lot of development coming through. Do you sort of think this COVID will have any sort of effect on that with the time off? Or do you think it could be a positive thing on the flip side of that?
I know, speaking from experience, my guys are all super keen to get back in the gym. You're starting to see some fight shows now announcing dates and stuff. I think Celtic Gladiators just put up a post saying they were looking to match. So these guys are, as soon as the guys are seeing that, they're messaging me saying like, get me on that show type of thing. We were also toying with the idea of putting fights on in the gym between some of the Scottish teams, and just bringing in officials and whatever else, just having no crowd. We've got a full size cage in the gym, So we're going to do that and record everything on Tapology and stuff as well, just to keep the guys busy. Obviously, whenever the government allow us to do it, but I think it should. It depends how much longer it goes on. I think, man. I think if we can go back to normal pretty quick, it shouldn't make too much of a gap. There's a couple of guys I feel really sorry for. Like obviously the guys who were planning on doing the IMAF stuff this year. Some of the pro guys that are a wee bit older as well. Their careers are kind of jammed up. It's almost robbed them of half a year to potentially a year.
Have they give you any sort of time scale for it, James, as to when we could be sort of seeing guys back in the gym? Is there any sort of indication that you've had yet?
We've got our elite guys back in the gym now. Danny Henry's on Fight Island soon, so him and Stevie Ray are in. But regarding like the amateur guys and that, I think with the way the Scottish government had the phases set out, I think the earliest it can be is the middle of July. That's if the phases go according to plan, and then there's going to be stipulations and stuff in place there as well. So Christ knows.
Yeah, it's it is a bit of a ball like at this point, but I guess it's one of those things we got to go through and just try and get back to it as soon as possible, I suppose. But that moves on to our next lot of young kids coming through today, and that's from our only English person on the show tonight, the lone female flying the flag for England, Katie Hunter. Katie, who have you got up by you? Who we should be having a look out for?
I'll apologise in advance because these are very weighted towards the southeast, which is the area near me. So the more local shows that I go to. So it's probably not a fair reflection on the whole of England, but the people that I've picked as my amateur ones to watch are, the first one's Riri Hudson. She's only 1-0 as an amateur. She fought on Cage Warriors Academy Southeast, the last show, and she just looked insane. I've been following her on social media for years because she trains at the MMA clinic in Romford, and she's had loads of Thai fights and just competing in different disciplines. And this was her breakout MMA fight, and it lasted 11 seconds. So she just absolutely wowed me because the girl she was fighting as well was a really game opponent. They both went at it. It was insane. And for me, it stole the show of the whole night. But her coaches can't say enough good things about her. Apparently, she's, like a model teammate, helps everyone in the gym. She's sweet as pie, just such a nice person. Her family behind her. When we got there for the night and we were sitting in the crowd for some of the early fights, all of the buzz in the room was about her. Everybody was mentioning her fight, which I think before you've even had an MMA fight is quite a big thing to, for everyone to be talking about you. And she really didn't disappoint. We had a dad on the post-fight interview. A granddad was crying in front of me. Like it was superb. There's such a buzz around her, and I can't really think of anyone else who's 1-0 and got this much hype. She's such a wonderful person, really driven as well. Just I think, James, you said it, just it's frightening how good some of these youngsters are, and it makes me so excited for the future. Just watching some of these fights, just all of them just seem like they're so much further along in their MMA careers than they are. And you just wonder how good they can be. And then my second one is Chanel Dyer. Chanel's not quite as unknown as Riri because she's had a BBC documentary about her already. She was on the Annie Price one. Yeah, so they did a documentary called Inside the Cage, The Rise of Female Fighters, and they followed Molly, they followed Corey McKenna, and they followed Chanel. And Chanel, again, has been fighting Thai fights for a long time now. She's just turned 19. She's 3-1 as an amateur. And again, just such a cracking mentality. She lost her last fight against an amazing opponent. And I could just tell instantly that was going to be taken the right way by her, because she was devastated, but I knew that she was going to learn from it. She's just got such a great mindset. And she was actually training out in Thailand, bearing in mind she was 18 at the time, from January until her fight on Cage Warriors Academy Southeast in March. She was training out at AKA in Thailand. She's just like a sponge, desperate for as much information as she can possibly learn. And it's just amazing, again, to watch her in the cage. I haven't gone for 2 goals on purpose. These were just 2 people that really, really stand out for me as just, you know, really going to make their mark on the game. And I'm grinning just talking about them.
Technically, can I ask, you were obviously, you're in the Southeast, you train at a couple of gyms up there. Do you notice now, obviously, MMA is becoming bigger? We talk about sort of younger kids on the whole getting better and getting more in numbers. Do you notice there's more females coming through in the amateur and pro ranks now up with you guys?
Yeah, there's a few more than there used to be. It's still very lopsided in terms of how many there are, but there's, you know, promoters are willing to put them on the card. It's just, you know, whether they're available to fight. It's a much smaller like pool of people to begin with. So if your opponent pulls out, it might mean the fight's off rather than you can get a replacement. It's not, I don't think it's as easy to replace people on the female scene.
No, fair play. So it's good to hear. Like I said, it's definitely something I've noticed sort of watching shows. Like I go to the Cage Warriors down in Cardiff and they put on quite a big amateur card, and the fights you see on there are just so high level. Like James said, it is scary. That's the only way you can say it. So it's scary, but it's also exciting, and it's something that we've been obviously down in Wales, which I want to come to Glenn next. We've been very lucky down here. We've had sort of Cage Warriors move in. I think they took obviously over the Pain Pit brand. So we've had a lot of sort of local shows in local leisure centres, but we've also been blessed that we've had these ice arena shows as well, big cards, and there's a huge buzz for it down here as well. So I mean, with that being said, Glenn, who's the guys who you've picked to really kind of take up the mantles now over the next couple of years, from the Jack Shaws, from the Mason Joneses? Who's the guys you think could be just stepping up for Wales over the next couple of years?
Well, there's a few I think is going to fill in for them, but they're pros, so I'll keep them for last. But the amateurs, I mean, obviously, there's one in my gym who I don't like being biased, but Rhys Hughes. I think if you see how hard Rhys Hughes works, I don't mean like just how hard he trains or how hard he's willing to learn and go places and do something himself. He turns up early all the time, and I hate people who are not on time. He's always early. He listens to everything a coach got to say. He'll help his teammates, and he just goes home. He doesn't whinge for anything, even when he's when he's really dieting and really working hard. He's never moans. If somebody tells him he's got to do more work, then he does it, and he just goes about it. He's two of his mates are boxers. One of them is a pro boxer, so he's boxing down their gym as well, and he's learning. He's working on his weaknesses all the time. Even if you've got to go and travel away to work in his wrestling, he works on everything. So Rhys Hughes is definitely. He was meant to fight Mitchell Good for his Cage Warriors Academy Wales title, and he was pulled the week before, so he's gutted for him.
And that was middleweight, wasn't it, Glenn?
Middleweight, yeah. But Katie touched on this last week, or week before last. Middleweight down here would be welterweight up with her, because their day before we in, aren't they? We are all same day. So she's middleweight, yeah. But yeah, again, it's just how hard he trains and how much work he puts in. And the other one then is a guy from CF24. He's Josh O'Connor. We try and build a bit of a rep up with them. I've started going to places and watching people train and trying to train elsewhere as well, and I'm just impressed with how good Josh is. If you've seen his wrestling and how much he's working on everything else, I think he's 5-0. He was meant to fight the guy called Zach Holman for the title on the same show, and I've watched Zach loads of times on the same shows I've been fighting on. He's very good. But I think that'll be a great fight. But I think Josh O'Connor is going to be a star. He's been doing judo since he was young. His father is well known around here with the judo circuit. She's got good pedigree of wrestling. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%, that he takes the wrestling down in CF24 as well. But and I think he's only something like 19 or 20. He's not that old, and he's coaching the wrestling, so that tells you all you need to know. But yeah, he's very good. He is.
Yeah, no, fair play. I know obviously we're kind of doubling up a little bit, Glenn, because we're both from Wales. We're not really too far apart, but the two guys I picked were both from Shaw Mixed Martial Arts. Two young guys who I've seen train quite a lot. Two guys, teenagers, and in a way it kind of feels like when you mention them sometimes at this level, is it a little bit too much pressure? But
Can I guess one? Can I guess one?
Go on.
Is it gangster number 2?
No. So
No.
I'll go straight into who these guys are. The first one I wanted to mention is a guy I've seen a lot. His name is Kenzie Jones. He's a featherweight. He's a 2-0 amateur, and he's very, very good. I've heard Shaky compare him to Jack Shaw many times. He's really got that. He's got that X factor about him. Very tough. Only 2-0, like you said. It's one of those things you can't really say too much at that stage. But for me, I just wanted to sort of drop the name in there and say to people, look out, Kenzie Jones. People are really excited about him down here. And the second one is a guy who's only 1-0. So again, it is a lot of pressure to put on, but at the same time, we want to be the guys on this show to say we seen it first. So the other one is a guy called Levi Batchelor, very, very good fighter. Both teenagers, they both train together. Kenzie's obviously a featherweight and Levi's a bantamweight. So these guys are both, very, very promising guys to look out for.
For me as well, right? I mean, you're saying they 1-0 and 2-0 with like the grappling strikes and Strike and Smith's coming back now. They're getting the pedigree through there. So whether somebody might be 4-0 as a unified amateur, they haven't had any grappling strikes, no headshots once. They don't get recorded. These guys, I'm pretty sure Levi's
had a couple on Strike and Submit.
He impressed me down here. He is really good. He is, yeah. And Kenzie, I think I got the right one when you mentioned him. I think he fought in Abraham with us. And did he fight down in the Lido?
I don't think Kenzie did. I know Levi did, and he got a submission that night. And Levi also fought on Cage Warriors 108, and he got a Darce choke in that one. So, and that's a big card as well. I'm sure that was the night Jack Shaw beat Scott Malone. So, it might have been the one Mason won the main event. So big cards in front of big crowds, and these guys are winning big on big shows now. So, like I said, it's great to see these guys coming through. And
while we're on the subject, can I ask you something?
Go on, ask away, Glenn.
James, do you have no headshots and grappling strike shows up with you? And what are your thoughts on that, mate?
We don't have that up here at all, mate. To be honest, the last couple of years, the Scottish scene has not been that great. There's been less and less shows. We've started travelling again more to the kind of north of England and stuff, but there's not a lot on. We've been trying to keep our guys busy in grappling competitions, sub only and stuff like that. But there's definitely a gap in the market for something like that up here.
I've seen it
coming back here, and we had into clubs here. There was busy. Shaky's had into clubs in his gym, and I'm pretty sure they are like 100 people signing up straight away. So it's like 50 fights or something. It's ridiculous, like how the first one was. So there's definitely a gap in the market, and it gives people a chance to have a little taste of what it's like before going in and seeing the lights and thinking and being like dumbfounded by what.
I wanted to ask you on that, Glenn, because I've heard people criticise no headshot rules. I personally think it's a good thing for the reasons you just said, but I've heard people say that, and I'd like to sort of hear James's opinion on this as well, that when you fight with no headshots, it kind of gives you a misjudgment for when then you get into a fight with headshots, and it can be detrimental. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
I fought without headshots back in, I think it was like 2001, that when I had been kickboxing and some Thai fights, and my first 5 kind of MMA bouts was no headshots. It was like amateur rules at the time, and it did kind of favour the grapplers, but I was just going in and getting experience. It was less risky than jumping straight into maybe getting punched in the head while I was trying to learn how to grapple and stuff like that. And it was on a mat as well, which was kind of making it start and stop and stuff. But I think it definitely served me well. It made me go learn jiu-jitsu straight away, because the first 1 or 2 I had been watching UFC, and I knew how to guillotine because of Pat Smith, but I hadn't started grappling at this point. So a judo boy actually threw me, lay on top of me, and I can remember getting super frustrated at not being able to move, and I probably lost that round, and that made me go learn jiu-jitsu, because I'd never felt that before. So I think there's definitely value in it, especially for maybe guys that have been training less than a year, because what you're finding with some of these amateur guys is they're amateurs for fucking 6 or 7 years, some of them, like with 10 and 15 fights, and then you've got other kids coming in and want a competitive outlet after maybe 6 months. So I think there's definitely a place for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Glenn, anything to add in there?
Yeah, I dislike that reason that it sets you up for being punched in the head. You don't say to a boxer, like, well, you can't do MMA because you've never been kicked in the legs. It's bullshit. You still spar boxing when you're fight camp. When there's no leg kicks, there's no takedowns. So getting that right in your early days, you're still sparring in a gym headshot, so you know what to do. And it's, I think that comment is ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm referring to an article. I think it was Ricky Wright wrote it for MMA UK, an article about, I think he was striking submit, and there was quite a lot of people who did say those comments, which, I mean, I was kind of baffled by it, but I mean, it did seem to get a lot of people saying the same thing. So it's interesting to see people's different perspective on it. I
remember the article, right? And I read the article, and I tell you why they said it is because they paid to watch us fight, and they pay, and they're not seeing people punch in the face. Fair enough, I understand. So as far as Interclub goes, you're not paying £35 for an Interclub ticket. No, it's people to have experience. That show was put on as a Strikers Make Champions night. So it's people that's done 5 all year, done well, and they fought for belts on that show. So and then we had the unified amateurs after. Okay, I understand that they want to stand there and see, have a few beers and seeing people punch in the face. But that's not what it was about. It was about them guys doing the Interclubs all year and then getting their champions fight night at the end of the year. So back end, when it goes back to the gym, back to the Interclubs, I think it starts again, and then they might have another one the year after or whatever. Yeah. But them comments was made because they was there and they was expecting them to be punched in the face and having a scrap, and because they don't know the technical side of the grappling on the floor, do they?
Yeah. Anything to add in there, Katie Hunter?
No, I imagine this comment's for James, though. Kieran Malone wants to know who your favourite Russian fighter is.
He's wanting to say him, Big Boris.
And then this one's for you two. My husband's taking the piss out of your accents.
Oh, me?
Crack his head in. That's
Cheers,
his impression.
Big shout out Lee Hunter there. So, yeah, guys, breaking this up now, I want to kind of change the subject a little bit, and that is something, obviously, again, we come to James to first, was the announcement of Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, which has it's been sort of rumored for a while. We didn't know if it was true, if it was false, if the UFC had bought some crazy island, but yeah, it turns out there is a Fight Island. We're going to be hopefully getting some big fights on this soon. James, you're going to be going out there, obviously, with one of your fighters. What's your thoughts on this, buddy?
I was skeptical about it. It seems like it dragged on forever. Like they made the announcement about it, and then I was like, stuff will be back to normal before they find this bloody island. And then Danny Henry and Stevie were in conference calls with Dana, and I think all the fighters were. I know Brett Johns was in the one with Danny, and they were basically told, like, stay fit, try and keep in shape as best as you can, and we'll keep you busy. So that kind of prompted us to train. But you know what it's like for these guys when you've not got a date or an opponent and stuff like that. So I'm glad it's came about. I know it's a bit of a cop out that it's like a man-made island I've used before. I was wanting some kind of Enter the Dragon thing, like. But I'm looking forward to going. Some of the fights I've been announcing for it are absolutely frightening. I've seen more fights announced today, and we're on the first one. We're on, is it 251? I think is the first date, the 11th of July.
July 11th.
So Danny's fighting Makwa and Amir Khani on that one.
Great fight, really good fight.
It's a good fight. The only thing I'm pissed about is I'm hoping I can go sit in the crowd after it because I want to see the free title fights. I'm hoping I don't need to watch it for the green room because I'd like to be cage side to see Aldo fight, obviously Max fight, and then the Usman fight as well. So it's like a phenomenal card. It's a great test for Danny with Makwan. I know he's away for SPG now and stuff, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I just for people who don't know, that card has got the main event of Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns for the welterweight title, a great fight. We've then got a rematch, Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway for the featherweight title. Insane fight again, a really close one last time. We then got Peter Yan versus Jose Aldo, which again, I mean, this is
weird fight.
Weird.
That's not amazing. The right opponent for Yan. That's only come about because Cejudo called him out for his last fight, and now they've carried on with it. I just think, no offense to Aldo, because he's obviously a legend, but I feel like there are more deserving people in the division at the moment of a title shot.
I'm pretty sure that's the third title fight this year. Somebody's been given a title fight after coming off a loss.
Oh, yeah, I know, and it drives me nuts. And again, I love Frankie Edgar to death, but like they're always giving him title fights where I think, like, I don't know, it will be a great fight, but I just think Aldo deserves that shot, in my opinion.
It's not like that division's stagnant. It's one of the best divisions.
Exactly.
In the
Yeah.
How much are you looking forward to this card overall, Kate Hunter?
Oh, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a bit gutted it's not on normal time for us, being where it is, but hopefully the ones after that will be on a good time for us. But yeah, that card's absolutely stacked. And I'm really buzzing for loads of the fights that are on over the whole time of Fight Island. Obviously,
Talk us through some of them, Katie. Talk us through some.
Well, yeah, I'm most buzzing for Molly's fight because I know, I talked to her a fair amount, so I know that she's been doing everything possible to stay ready. She wanted to be the first one back inside the cage when they started putting on fights. So she's fighting Talia Santos on the 15th of July. Fishy's on the same card. Yeah, I'm just absolutely buzzing for all of the Brits getting to go out there and make history. Like, people will be talking, in years to come, like, remember Fight Island when the coronavirus was going on, and all of our guys get to go and, put their stamp on it. And there are, there's no other sports going on, so there will be fresh eyes just for, anybody who's just desperate to see any kind of sport, not just us. So I'm super, super excited that they all get to, put on a show for not just the hardcore MMA fans, but everyone.
Yeah. And James Hamilton's got a question for James Doolan, which is, ask James, is he packing his Factor 50 for Fight Island?
I was checking the weather. It's like 39 degrees, I think, yesterday there. So I think me and the only person that'll be in more trouble than me might be Danny. He's a pasty ginger, who's just shaved his head. He went the I'm going to shave my hair off for quarantine. So I think the 2 years will be indoors most of the time.
Yeah. Does it factor into the training at all, James? Obviously, knowing how hot it is out there for Danny's prep.
We've been talking about it. He's done Johannesburg a bunch of times and Cape Town, but it was more the altitude there. The altitude at Johannesburg was an issue, but I don't think you can. It's going to be really hard to prepare for that dry heat.
Yeah.
The good thing is he's on. It might not be a good thing. He'll be on early in the card, so it's not like everyone's heating up for the whole day. But I've no idea what the situation will be, if it's a kind of outside octagon with like a canopy over it, or if we're in an arena with air conditioning or whatever. So we'll kind of have to adapt when we get there. We'll just need to make sure he stays hydrated and stuff. And then it's only 15 minutes. The reality is it's only 15 minutes, but it's definitely something he's going to have to factor into the mental side of his game and be prepared for.
And James, with that being said, buddy, Glenn, I should say, what's your take on this island? Is it something you're looking forward to? Is it something you think is a positive move for the UFC?
Yes. If it didn't, I think they would have lost a lot of fans. And the reason I'm saying that is, so if we've got some casuals who only just got into MMA for McGregor and they started watching fights, if they hadn't had any fights for like 3 months and another sport has come back, they might have started watching other sports and forgot MMA. But now with nothing else is on, they started watching it, they're interested again, it might just keep people going for it as well. So James, question for you, back to what time are they going to be fighting out there then? If he's early on the card, is it like really early in the morning now? Will he be having a fight at like 4 o'clock in the morning out there?
No, I think it'll be maybe the equivalent of 4 or 5 o'clock dinner time there. So the time difference will obviously apply. Normally what's happened with these is we try and go earlier. Like whenever Danny fought in Johannesburg, we used to go for like 14 days or maybe even more, just to get used to stuff. But with the current situation, it's not like you can ask for an extra extra time there or whatever. So once we get an idea of the running order and stuff, we can figure out exactly what time Danny's going to be fighting it, and then we can adjust it around about the time difference and stuff. I know with Danny travelling to fight a lot, that stuff doesn't bother him. It affects some guys more than others, but his mindset's like it's just 15 minutes. It can happen anytime during the day, under any circumstances. With him, he's really strong mentally that way. But I kind of look into it more than him. So once we get an idea of the running order, I think he's going to be pretty early just because of the strength of the rest of that card. So we can kind of figure out what time he's there at, and then when we get there for fight week, we'll try and get a couple light workouts around about the time he's fighting, and then try and get him to tailor his sleep around about it. But there's not really much we can do with it, to be honest. Usually we could get access to some of the universities. I've got like acclimatising chambers and stuff like that to train, but everything's shut now. So it's basically we're opening the gym for his sessions. And then we'll just have to deal with the kind of external circumstances, the environment and shit when we get there.
It's very exciting though, isn't it? Like it's one of those things. I know it's not like the island kind of Enter the Dragon we expected, but it's still like Katie said, it's super exciting to think that these guys are going out to fight during this lockdown.
Especially being on that card, I think. It's the first one that's a massive card, but you'll never get a chance to do that again, I don't think.
Yeah. So yeah, some amazing fights coming up. Obviously, UFC fans and MMA fans very blessed in terms of what we got coming up in terms of professional fights. But obviously, that takes us back nicely now on to the second part of our show, which was picking up the next generation of fighters who might be taking part on these big cards. The pro fighters we wanted to mention, and guys you might be wanting to look for in the next couple of months. So Katie Hunter, I'm going to come to you first this time. Southeast, who's the pros we should be looking out for, Katie, in the next year or two?
So I've gone a bit rogue with this one because she's actually Norwegian, but she's fought on the Cage Warriors Academy Southeast card a couple of times, and she's just blown me away. Ivana Siric has not had a pro fight yet, but if I tell you that she beat Glenn's teammate Stephanie Evans, and the girl that I just mentioned, Chanel Dyer, her only losses to Ivana. Just the caliber of those two girls shows you what level Ivana must be at. And she's just so well-rounded and just really accomplished as a martial artist. She's great in front of the camera. She's Norwegian, but she speaks really good English. She's a stunning girl. Like, you could just see that she's the full package in every way, but most importantly in the cage. And for her to beat those two girls who I hold in really, really high esteem, to me it speaks volumes about her. But yeah, just a girl who I just think is really going places. That's my last girl, I promise.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good, Katie. We like to get a mixture, you know. Who's your next one? Yeah, do your next one, Katie. Do your next one.
So I limited myself to only one teammate, so I probably upset everyone else in the gym. But he's 11-2, so he's not exactly, new to the MMA scene. Emre Sommes. I'm saying him because I don't feel like he's had the opportunity to make the splash as much as he would have done by now if circumstances had gone differently. He's been really unlucky with pullouts and stuff with opponents, so he's ended up fighting people who aren't the caliber of the person that he originally took the fight against that would have really made an impression on people. He also had a horrible ACL injury, so one of his two losses was actually when he tore his ACL in a fight in Italy. So he was out for a year then. Then he was supposed to be fighting Aidan Stephen on the Cage Warriors London card, the 113 cards that ended up being moved to Manchester and being held behind closed doors. And he got really, really ill that week. And like had to pull out of the fight, which I know would have absolutely devastated him. He's so hungry and so ready. And I thought that would be a huge opportunity because I really rate Aidan as well. And I thought whoever walks away with that win is really making a statement, because the other, you know, is so good. And it's still a fight that I desperately want to see. Because Aidan then went on and dominated his fight because he had a replacement opponent. I feel like it would be a really, really good fight for both of them, and we'd get to see who walks away victorious. Aidan also fought another one of my teammates, Steve Amable, and I knew from the second that fight was announced, I knew it was going to be the fight of the night. And I would just love for Emma to get the praise that I think he deserves and the eyeballs on him. He's fought once for Cage Warriors already, and he won. But he was unhappy with his performance because he felt like he ground out a victory, and he did the sensible and intelligent thing. But he wanted to make more of a statement on his Cage Warriors debut. To anyone else, it looked like a really good fight, but to him, he wasn't happy with it. And I could say that about all of these people. They're really critical of their own performances, even when they win.
Yeah, no, fair play. Two very good picks there, Kate. I've heard you talk about that Emma a lot of times. So yeah, I'm glad you got that one.
My one to pick, like since 2017, but like
Yeah.
he has been unlucky with injuries and stuff. So yeah, I can't wait to see him back in there.
Yeah, and Glenn, how about you, buddy? Who's your two pros you're picking?
Right, I'm going to go on a bit now, right? Because I'm going to be hashtag name dropping wanker. But I should so Jack Tucker and Scott Pedersen was a very good amateur careers. They're ready to step over to pro now, but they keep getting fights put off or whatever. So they're already, for me, they already got their names out there. Everyone knows who they are. Steph, I probably should have met as an amateur. Like, I'm not sure what's going to happen to her in the future, but she's not my teammate anymore. You know what?
I didn't know that.
No, she left, went to Christie's Academy. I think she left there now, so I'm not sure. But when she applies herself, she's brilliant. Like, but again, you know, I'm not sure what's going to happen with her. Yeah. But yeah, there's loads of like pros now with like under 5 fights. So just breaking onto the scene and just like getting it. So my first one is a teammate of mine is Struan Croxon. But again, he's had like I think it's 18 months out now through injuries and just not playing himself. I think when I decide what I'm finally doing, if I don't fight, I think I'll just help him and concentrate on helping him, because he's the type of person that needs somebody to go, right then, come on, do this, or right, you're going up to here next week to train here. But when he switches on, he is quality. His only loss is against Mehdi Ayan, the one that drew against Joe McColgan. That was on Budo. Struan dropped him in the first round, and Mehdi's footwork just got outside him. And that was probably one of the fights, the stand-up fights, best stand-up fights I've probably seen live. It was brilliant, to be fair. Yeah, he fought on Cage Warriors. He fought Michael Corson on Cage Warriors and just dominated him and with wrestling, etc. So yeah, when Struan gets a good string of fights together and some good training through like being injury-free, he is quality. And the other guy is from Matt Academy. So I've been trying to have people come down to the gym and help spar the boys as much as I can. And Ben Ellis is brilliant. He come down to the gym and watching him and Struan sparring. you could have paid to watch it. It was for the untrained fan. It would have been boring, but the wrestling, I was like, I'm trying to help him. Like, there's nothing I could tell him. It's brilliant. The wrestling was so good. Ben had got a massive future, I believe. Could possibly be the first UFC fighter from Matt Academy if he doesn't go down the Bellator route with Lou. But you've just only got to see how hard he works, and you know his aura when he's training and just everything about him. I think he has a massive future. But again, I could go on so much with the pros, like your obvious choices from SMMA, who've got an amazing team, like the Raw Bands, or you know they're already trained and tested. He doesn't need me or anyone else talking about him to tell him about his future. He does an amazing job of that himself. I mean, like with Aidan James from Christie's Academy is another good cracker, but they're already trained and tested. So my two picks are Ben Ellis and Struan Croxon.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Glenn, we've kind of ended up going over each other here because Ben Ellis is the obvious choice. I was going to mention Ben as well. He's obviously he was the Cage Warriors amateur champion for Wales. He's obviously then kind of graduated out of that. I think he had a string of wins at amateur, then came through, and I think he's 2 or 3-0 at pro now, and he's just been absolutely dominant. He's a great wrestler, good striker, and I would agree he's got a very, very bright future. So everyone keep an eye out for Ben Ellis. The other one, which was kind of a guy they've been pitted against each other quite a lot, is Jordan Peak, who fights out of SMMA. Jordan Peak is another guy who's a featherweight. He was also the champion. He graduated kind of into the pros just before Ben, but that's another guy. He's 1-1, Jordan Peak, and these are two guys that I think if they want to face off. I know Jordan's coming off his first loss, but I think these guys want to face off to see who's kind of the best featherweight at that level in Wales, and I think that's a good fight. And these two guys are both guys that I would like to shout out and say keep an eye out, because even whoever wins, whoever loses, they're both guys who've got a big future. I'd
rather get that done now, right? Because it can only mean good for them training together in the future. They train together now, they're not going to want to fight in the future. Let's get that fight done, because it's inevitable it's going to happen, and then they can help each other out. Because I see the gyms in Wales are starting to help each other out a lot more. But if there's somebody in the gym that I can potentially fight, I'm not going to go there and train there.
Yeah.
So I think if they get that done, get it done. Okay, one loss, one of them's got to lose. One loss in the record might, but losses don't mean nothing these days. It's quality, and obviously if you're what's what I'm looking for. If you build yourself up, then that helps as well. But the loss doesn't really count against you anymore.
And the last one I wanted to mention as well was one you mentioned briefly, was Jack Tucker. Jack, obviously, he's not had a pro fight yet. I think he had a 9-3 record, I believe, at amateur. He was also the Cage Warriors Wales amateur champion. So let me just have a look. Yeah, 9-3-0 Jack Tucker was a very, very good fighter. Everyone at the gym raves about how good this guy is. He's big, he's strong, he's a great grappler, and I'm really looking forward to see him make his pro debut and make some waves in that division. So that's another shout out, one to watch out for. Honourable mention for Jack Tucker from Shaw's Mixed Martial Arts. James, obviously the only one left now with Scotland. What pro guys should we be looking for up there, buddy?
I think we've already mentioned Aiden earlier, but he's fairly well established now. I think they still see the best of him, but I think once he gets everything in place in terms of his working and having a full-time job and training, he's quite secluded away up in the north of Scotland, but he's got so much potential, I think. But he's already at Cage Warriors. If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I'd have said Luke Shanks, but he's at position now. His next fight's for the Cage Warriors world title, so he's kind of went past prospect now. So my two picks will be, we've got a guy up here called Stevie McIntosh, a 70 kilo fighter. He's 6-1. He's similar to what Katie was saying. He's been very unlucky. He'd matched on M1 Global in China. They fucked him about with the opponent, so the fight never happened on the week. He got a call before for Bellator, the Newcastle show. He was matched with Alfie Davis for about maybe half an hour, and then broke his hand in sparring. So he just needs a break on a big show now. We've been in talk with a couple with Bellator. We've been in talk with Cage Warriors and EFC in South Africa. So he's definitely my next guy. He's a wee bit older. I think he's maybe 30 now. He's like probably the hardest spar for any other guys in the gym, just style wise. A big, tall, very, very good distance and timing, and he's a slick grappler as well. So he's my main guy. It's starting to become a bit of a personal quest for me to get this guy on a decent show and get him recognised just because of the work he's put in. And then my second pick is, we've got a young kid called Keir Harvey. I think he's 21. He's 3-0 now. He's just moved up to featherweight. He was fighting at bantamweight before. He had quite a big amateur background, and he's just really starting to develop. And he's he'd a bunch of ideas before, like bits and pieces, but he's really starting to put his game together now at pro. Super composed, technical everywhere. and a hard worker. So that would be my two picks. We've got a couple other guys up here who are due to turn pro. A kid called Kieran Reid, who's 8-0, I think, at amateur. He's a frightening grappler, and I think pro rules will suit him better at bantamweight. So he'd be my honourable mention. I think he'll probably be, once we can get back to work, he can be looking to turn pro. But my two pro picks would be Keir Harvey, who's 3-0, and Stevie McIntosh, who's 6-1.
Yeah. James, for all these guys we've just mentioned, obviously you've coached a lot of fighters in your time. What would you say is the difference between someone who sort of fizzles out after a good amateur career and someone who really takes it on and becomes like a Stevie Ray, Danny Henry kind of fighter? What would you say is that the main factor in that?
See, the three fighters I've got coached to the UFC, so if we class that as kind of elite level, so Joanne was the first one, Calderwood, and then Stevie, then Danny. They're single-minded, like not they sacrifice just more than everybody else, like to the point where like everything else gets put to the side for them. That Joanne never had an amateur career. She had all her Thai fights, went straight to pro because she was a world Thai boxing champion. Danny had a bunch of amateur fights, and Stevie, I think, rattled out something like 9 in his first year of training, and then turned pro. So they knew that they wanted to be pro. They knew they were in the amateur ranks to learn. So it was just a process of getting better, getting experience, and then it was almost like starting with a clean slate when they got to pro. So they knew the importance of the amateur ranks, much in the same way that most of our good amateurs do now. They're not afraid to go out and make mistakes. They'll take hard fights at amateur. They'll not try and pad a record and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, it's great. Like I said, there's just so much talent coming through, and I hope, for the sake of British MMA, that we can keep pushing them through, because it seems to be spiraling. So, like I said, I hope we get more guys who push onto that UFC, and we get a lot more people to cheer on and ultimately talk about on these shows. So, I mean, it's good for all of us. So, yeah, Katie Hunter, just closing on that, I mean, is there any sort of things you notice? You train up with your guys. What's the kind of differences you notice? You train a little bit with Molly, you train a little with girls just starting. Is there anything you would sort of add to that?
I haven't trained with Molly before, but used to train at the same gym as Corey. I think it is how focused and driven they are. Like, some people make it their whole world, and even on the amateur scene now, that's what's scary. Like, people ask if I'll have another fight after my Wimp to Warrior fight, and I'm like, come along to one of these shows and see the level that these people are at, and see how seriously they're taking it, and like what they're putting into it is just insane. And that's what it takes. You've got to be that single-minded, and some people want other things in their life, and they just won't get to, well, they'll find a ceiling of where they're at, and then you've got these other crazy people who are willing to dedicate their whole lives to it.
Yeah. And another thing I want to ask, because one of my favourite amateur fights I've watched was with our very own Glenn the Sledge Williams and Big Jamie McDonald in Strike and Submit. I want to know, Glenn, are you ever going to make that jump and go pro, or are you thinking of riding out an amateur and leaving it there?
I think I'll finish it first stop, to be honest with you. So I'm currently injured again. I mean, I'm doing some training on my own, and then as soon as I'm putting like an hard week together, my back keeps going. So if my back heals tidy in the next few months, then I'd like 2 more to finish my amateur career. As you know, Lou, I've always wanted a pair of yellow gloves. I got a pair over there that I pinched off Rango, but I want to earn my own yellow gloves. But I don't think that's going to happen. I'm 36 in a couple of months. So I didn't start MMA and I didn't start training martial arts until I was 30. So for me to sort of, I think it'd be pointless me turning pro unless I sort of had that, second wind of the drive. But I don't know. Who knows? As it is now, I just like to get my 2 fights to round it off the 10 amateur fights and just go from there. I'd love to finish back in the line doing Strike and Submit again, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, it was a good show.
Mate, how amazing was that? Looking up the crowd and like every person in this, everyone standing up, clapping. Brilliant. It was amazing.
Yeah. And James as well, I've got James Hamilton has just commented, Reece McEwen has just turned pro and he's a very bright future.
Yeah, he's a good kid, man. I think he had a good amateur career. I think his only loss was to Lewis Lee Scott. And he turned pro. I think he'd one more amateur fight, defended his on top belt, and then turned amateur. But he's a brilliant kid. But he's an example of what we're talking about. Super dedicated. I think he's finished uni, got a degree, and then he works in a gym in Glasgow, just making enough money to train twice a day. He's got a strength conditioning coach. He's got somebody helping him with his diet and his weight cuts. He's been a professional fighter even when he was one or two fights deep into his amateur career. But he's a very talented kid. He's young as well, so he's got a massive future.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And a big shout out to all those guys we've mentioned tonight as well. I'm sure all of them are going to go on to do big things.
Sorry, I didn't say my honourable mentions when we were going through. Can I just read you some out?
Katie, go for it, Katie.
Okay, so amateur-wise, George Tanassa from my gym. He's son of Dracula. He's such a character. He's so exciting to watch fight. Yuki Ndengbe won the bantamweight amateur tournament at Cage Warriors Academy Southeast. These guys had 3 fights in one night, and like that one, the fight between him and George, won fight of the night as well, is epic. Jimmy Quinn is a teammate of Riri Hudson at the MMA clinic. Shoreful Islam we had on the Rock card. He also trains at the MMA clinic, but in Angel. Mahudin Abu Bakr, he's 11-2, and probably everyone's already heard of him anyway, but I think he'll be turning pro soon. He is phenomenal, and he's won every amateur belt and done IMAF, and he's just awesome. And Vadimus Gazoutis, who's also doing some training with Brad Pickett and GB Top Team, as well as his gym Stronger. And then on the pro circuit, people to look out for, Lonnie Kavanagh and Charlotte McIntyre. They are the MMA power couple. She's had a pro debut on Bellator and absolutely destroyed the girl she was fighting. Lonnie's amazing as well. Nick Bagley's just made a successful start to his pro career, 1-0. Those guys all train with Brad. Lee Mitchell from my gym is 3-1. He broke his hand in his pro debut, like the very first exchange, and he was fighting Liam Gittin. So that one didn't go his way. He's won every fight since then. Luke Traynor is just about to make his Bellator debut. It's supposed to be in London. He won the EFN tournament put on by John Kavanagh, and I think it was an 8-man tournament, and he won that as a light heavyweight to win the Bellator contract. And Jack Eglin, who's just made a successful pro debut as well, 1-0, also came through the Cage Warriors Academy Southeast, BCMMA, talent train. They just like churn them out there, but yeah.
A very extensive list there, Katie. Putting Glenn to shame there, Katie, with our extensive and well-researched list. So, yeah, guys, first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to all the guests for joining me tonight. James, best of luck out in Fight Island, buddy. Where can people get you on social media, James?
I think the gym's just higher level martial arts, Instagram and Facebook. I think that's about it. Higher level podcast as well. I better mention that for James Hamilton.
Yeah, big shout out James Hamilton.
Cut that bit out. We're not advertising another one.
That's about it, man. That's about it.
Yeah, fair play. Katie Hunter, always a pleasure. I feel like you really earned your keep with our last list going off there.
Now I feel awful to anyone I missed out. But before we went, talk about, Glenn, you wanted to talk about local shows, didn't you? And like the ones that we're super excited to see come back.
Yeah, like I can't emphasize how much I'm into grassroots MMA. I mean, like Cage Warriors are already tried and tested down here. We know, we'll put it down the other shows, but we know they're the best show around our area. So let's be honest, everyone knows that. So they're like Adrenaline Fight Nights. They put on some. KGB got some great stand-up guys, and they are good for grassroots. So is Budo. I mean, I'm not sure if John Phillips' show is coming back, but I'm actually looking for Budo forward. Budo Wales coming back. I mean, it's going to be 2 years since it's been out. So when I start again, because the gyms around here are so busy now, they're going to be a filter for you, like Cage Warriors is, and the big shows to want to. So I think the first Builder Worlds, I think, will be stacked of local talent. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, brilliant. James, any sort of shows up there you wanted to give a shout out?
We have Boodle comes up here as well a couple of times a year, which is always good, man. The main show up here's On Top. Obviously, it's one of the longer running ones. It's one of the better ones. I'm still
Bachelorina was due to go there as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had a show booked in April, which we're looking with some guys on there, and I'm constantly pestered on Ian Dean and Graham Boylan to bring Cage Warriors back.
Yeah, one day it's gonna happen. I'm sure, James. There's so many good fighters up there now. It can't be far off, I don't think.
Let me ask you a lot of the question then. So you say like Builder got shows down here, they got shows in Manchester. Now me personally, I'd rather than having a Builder here and calling a Builder Manchester, call it something else. Don't be a standalone organisation and stick to your area. I'd rather. And then rather than like trying to filter each other over and send each other fighters, find your own fighters and then use your club as a feeder then to promote the big shows. That's what I would rather. I know in an ideal world that's never going to happen. Like, but I'd rather like Strike and Submit. People that's never going to have a franchise. That's never going to get anywhere else if it starts again. But I'd rather just start your own up. Don't be affiliated with anything else and stick to your local area. That's my view anyway.
Yeah, I think the running of it is a big factor in that as well, though, Glenn. Is like
and
these franchises, they're so good at setting up and they have so much resources behind them. That's kind of what happens then when they start putting up different places. I think organisation-wise, it must be tough to just put on a show like that. So
I do, and I seen how much work Kevin Cox put into Strike and Submit. Pull out after pull out, and he had no one to turn to for backup fighter. Chris Clark, Dino Gamatesa will have a pull out on Budo, like in the morning, and Chris Clark has already got a guy on the way down in the car to fill it in. You know what I mean? Kevin Cox didn't have that luxury. He had to look for message anyone himself. He was chasing stuff up. So I understand the pros and cons of it, but I'd like to be just one standalone one. That's all I want. I know it probably never work though. But
I promoted about 35 shows, I think. Back in the day, and we started putting them on just to get our guys fights local, and it got to a stage where in Scotland when we couldn't match our guys with local guys anymore, so we started having to fly in guys from France and Ireland and Sweden and stuff, so the costs it just started snowballing, and it was stressful as shit. Like it was problematic, man. But Scotland could do with more events, to be fair. So
I know James Wallace of Adrenaline Fight Nights. He got a big rep with Sweden, and it's easier for him because Sweden's amateur team are funded by the government, so they all get paid to train to go towards AMAF. I'm not sure the details, but he finds it easier to first and foremost ask them for the fighters they're sending over, and he'll try and match them over here. And he finds that a lot easier, a lot less stressful, because he knows they're all training and they're not going to pull out. If they do pull out, it's a genuine injury. So he rathers that side of it, and he thinks it's much easier to match them than trying to find people everywhere to match his own.
They're just easier to deal with. The guys are so much more professional and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? In some terms, anyway. And the Irish guys and the French are the same. The French couldn't fight. It was still illegal in France for a while, so the guys were dying to come over. But in terms of the promotion side, when we paid the amateur guys straight out the gates, but it's because it was your own fighters, and then the costs just racked up with hotels, flights for the fighter, the corner man, the person, and then giving them like a per diem for the time they were here and stuff, man. But it's a hard game promoting.
Yeah, Katie, any shows you want to shout out?
Obviously, I've mentioned Cage Warriors Academy Southeast about 100 times. That's my head coach who puts on that show, and I think it's the best around. But I also want to shout out Fight Star, which is in London, in Brentford, West London. And it's a great show put on by Raj Singh, and you can just tell the quality of a show by the gyms they've got on the card and the fighters they've got on the card, and he always matches a really, really good card, and it's just a great opportunity for all the amateurs. Normally topped off with a pro fight or a couple of pro fights, but it was supposed to be the first Fight Star Manchester this Saturday, just gone. So thinking of you, Raj, and can't wait to get back to one of these events soon.
Can I have a question for both of you? How many gyms are around by you then? Because we've started, there's a lot of gyms around by us. I just assumed there's like that everywhere. How many gyms are around by you, James? And because you mentioned how far the boys got to travel back and forth to the gym.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I reckon there's less than 15 MMA gyms in the whole of Scotland, I think. Yeah. You've got predominantly they're based in Glasgow. We're kind of right in between Glasgow and Edinburgh. And I know there's a couple. I don't think they've got any fighters, to be fair. Every now and again, a fighter comes for the gyms, but there's only really maybe 4 or 5 like gyms that are consistent. Yeah, like doing it right, consistent guys. But it's not as big as what people think in Scotland. For the level of guys you've got coming out of Scotland, like you've got the guys that are in the UFC, then you've got Ross Houston away to Bellator, you've got Chris Duncan doing really well at Bellator, Robert Whiteford's at Bellator, then Callum Murray just fought in Bellator. For the level of fighters are putting it as a percentage of the people doing the sport in the country is pretty frightening, but it's not massive in Scotland, man. I think Wales has definitely got a much healthier scene than Scotland, and I know for a fact England has.
What about you, Katie?
I'd say quite a lot, but purely because my area probably encompasses London as well. So like on that Fight Star show, that is in West London. So you've literally got all of the gyms in the whole of London, as well as Essex, Kent, all the surrounding areas. There's a ton of amazing gyms on all of those cards.
Right, yeah, there's loads around by us. I mean, I started doing that Fight Days profile series and tried off the top of my head thinking of gyms to get one from each gym, and I just keep missing any. I think, right, this is my last one now. Last one up another gym, or last one next week up another one. And I've still got loads I haven't done yet. So I didn't realise how many gyms there was around by us, which is obviously a good thing. And like that's the grassroots. The more we push, the more successful Bellator, UFC, or Cage Warriors Fight Days we're going to produce. So yeah, it's definitely a good scene down here.
Yes, it is good. I think Wales has benefited a lot from Cage Warriors, though. The fact that they've come in and put on these big shows, I think that's kind of spread down through to a lot of the smaller shows and smaller gyms. So I do think a lot of that is from that. And obviously having the likes of like Jack Shaw, who's got a massive following, he's really caught people's imagination. And Oban Elliott now is picking that up, Mason Jones. So
Brett Jones as well.
Yeah, Brett. I mean, I think Brett was kind of probably a little bit ahead of Jack in that sense. He won the Cage Warriors belt a good while back now, I think, wasn't it? I can't remember exactly what year, but I think since Jack has come on the scene and they've put these big shows in Wales, it really has pushed the scene as a whole. There's a lot more people talking about it, a lot more people kind of speaking about it, and that's great for people like Brett, who's been grinding it out even sort of a little bit before that, because now he's getting that recognition as well down here. And like I said, it's great down here at the minute. And I think if that Cage, Corey, another one. Like I said, I think with Scotland though, I think if you get a couple of big shows up there, like a Bellator,
I think we missed the UFC not coming last year, because I think they were here 2015 then 17, and we automatically assumed they'd be here 2019, and they patched us. So I think we could do them back, and definitely Cage Warriors back. I
was up there for the last Glasgow card, and it was brilliant up in that hydro. Absolutely cracking atmosphere. Really good night. No
disrespect to you, James. You just mentioned yourself now that you're possibly behind us on the terms of the MMA scene down here, and we still haven't had a UFC. And the way Shaky explains why, I mean, it doesn't look like we're gonna have one for a while either, which is a bit gutting, to be honest with you. But we can only dream, can we? I'd love one down in Wales, I would. Oh, question. You mentioned Brett was on our conference call, James. Have you announced he's on Fight Dayland yet, or? I haven't seen. I just tried looking on my phone. No, I haven't found it.
I've seen a couple of his Twitter things. He was putting up wee islands and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen him, but you mentioned a fight actually.
He wants to fight, doesn't he? He wants to fight, but I don't think there's ever anything announced.
Who do you think a good fight in there for him would be now?
Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah, both fought Albertson.
Put them right back into the top end of that division.
Let's go. I didn't think of that. That's a cracker. I would have gone.
I'd love to see that fight.
Yeah.
I would have gone Sugar Sean O'Malley. They're both quite in the era.
I think Brett would beat him just now, man.
And I do. And the reason I think it might even happen is because he started running his mouth about money. Like, I think the UFC have been feeding him strikers because as a striker, you got a good range and you can knock people out. But I can't off the top of my head think of anyone that's put him on his back yet. And Brett will put him on his back. And I think he will grind out there.
I don't think they want to derail the hype train.
No.
Well, if he's calling for more money, fucking derail it. If he's giving that about money, if he's giving that about money and being a bit of a dickhead, derail it. Fuck him. Fuck him, innit? You know, they're gonna go like them. We've looked after you. You know, use your head now, or we'll give you a wrestler. Simple as that.
I have that.
Yeah, so all good fights. But yeah, guys, I mean, I don't know if I've missed anything else. Katie, is there anything else we wanted to bring up before we wrap this one up?
No, I thought this was hilarious because nobody could understand Jamie when he was on the show.
Jamie McDonald wants the subtitle.
I did want to so try and pick the super fight for our prospects, but I don't think we'd have enough time because of the way we're talking about them, we'd go on forever.
Yeah.
I will mention. I've gone.
Glenn, I got work in the morning as well, so we can't go until 12 o'clock. Buddy. Some of us are on furlough, Sledge.
Yeah, something like that.
But there we are, guys. Big thank you for joining me tonight. It was a great chat, and a big shout out to all those guys we mentioned. Really wish them all the best for the future and look forward to seeing those next generation of fighters.
And if anyone who's active on social media would do us a favour and follow these guys we mentioned, because they're gonna need the promotions, and this is the reason we've mentioned them. It's because they're not big fans. You know, they haven't got a big fan base. They're in the gyms working hard, so they haven't got a chance to be talking like we are here and praise themselves up. So I'm doing it for them. Give them a follow and keep an eye out for us, please. And
on that note, follow MMA UK on our social media channels as well, because
and subscribe on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. This is live on Facebook and Twitter, so hopefully you're following us there. And thank you to our sponsors again, Fight Fuel.
Hashtag name dropping wanker.
There we go.
Name dropping wanker. Hashtag.
Thank you very much, guys. And Katie Hunter, if you would do the honours, you've done a wonderful job with the tech side of it this evening. And
I can't wait to have a glass of wine after.
We look forward to the next one, guys. I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Have a nice day, motherfuckers. Nice to meet you, James. Ta-ra, mate.
See you, mate.